don't waste your time. Ain't no need to straddle the fence. Now you can take a side with competition where you think a gazelle can take a line. If you in opposition, just listen. They will change your mind. You catch him right here. And every show a banger like Ray Lewis at the quarterback. Got open forms, you got a topic, or will it trust in God? Don't come on here talking that nonsense and don't know nothing. No hesitation, get put in your place. End the discussion. Ain't no shit coating over here, keep it 100. Got a question? We gon' come with the answer like Irish. If you ain't know then, you know now just what time it is. Sean, reppin' the city of brotherly love. Philly stand up, Super Bowl 52 champions. Baltimore in the building. Make some noise for his pack. Got Charm City on his back. Putting on for the hate. How Ripken Jr. back with the Orioles. And he's smoking down the diving school. This knowledge from his college school. Follow us, shout out to you. Without you, this ain't possible. You rock with us, we rock with you. I love us, I love for you. Much love the fan base and follow the fan base. It's deeper than sports talk. It's something like family. FNB more. Let's get you a crab cake. Oh, you in Philly, say less. You a cheesesteak. Now run and tell the sports fanatics that you know online. www.ngscsports.com.
How is it going, everybody out there in the sports universe? I'm your boy, Sean James Harrison, and calling in live from Baltimore, Maryland. You don't see his pretty mug right now. You just stuck with me all night. But he's calling in Patrick Hodge. How you doing tonight, man? So tonight, man, we got a heavy schedule as we always do. We're gonna talk very little MLB. We're gonna talk a lot of NBA, very NBA heavy show with the trade deadline and buyouts coming up. But first, let's hit them with around the world of sports. And this week, we got the MLB. Mookie Betts trade is falling apart as the Twins are set to back out of the trade. In the NBA, you got the Warriors and the Wolves swap Wiggins and Russell. The Clippers get Marcus Morris. The Pistons send Drummond to the Cavs. Miami trades for Iguodala. Clint Capella to Atlanta. Robert Covington to Houston. Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson III to the 76ers. In the world of buyouts, you got Reggie Jackson, Isaiah Thomas, Marvin Williams, and Michael Kidd Gilchrist. Sorry about that. And in the XFL, who cares? I will not start talking XFL ever. If Patrick wants to talk about it, I will mute my microphone. I will sit back and I will not even entertain XFL talk. It is a joke. You have guys like Donnell Pumphrey, who is a running back that's too small to play in the NFL, so they gave him the XFL. It's basically college again. That's what the XFL is. It's college again. You're getting paid for it. Congratulations to all you that get to play in it. And if some of you enjoy it, I'm sorry. Apparently you didn't learn your lesson from the AFL. It'll fizzle out just like every other fake football out there. But, yeah, just get used to not seeing it soon because it's going to go away. Do you want to have anything to say on that, Patrick, or no? Well, this is my thing. It's like, if you remember the first week of the AFL, this was the same conversation everybody was having, right? Oh, look, remember the big hit? Oh, that big hit they had in the first week of AFL, and then that fizzled out real quick. This week, you got the nice trick play for the XFL that blew up ESPN and blew up my phone. No, I'm good. I know what's going to happen. We've seen this story before. There's a reason. Go. Yeah, you're right. And I actually, when it comes to the AFL, I should say, I feel bad for the players that played in it that basically got stranded in the cities that they played in. After that league collapsed, and that's actually my biggest problem with it. Is that is more so that is that whole league collapsed and the players kind of just got stranded where they were. That's the real threat of it, the real damage that it did. Sorry about that, everybody. For whatever reason, whenever I have that microphone, that headset on, and Patrick's hosting the show, everybody can hear everybody. When I'm hosting the show and I have that headset on, nobody can hear anybody else. All right. Danny, you're out there now? What the hell? What is going on? Danny, are you out there, bud? Patrick, can you hear me? What is going on? Hold on, everybody. I'm trying to. Excuse me, guys. I'm trying to figure this all out. Yo, can you hear me now? Yo, can you guys hear me now? Hello, hello, hello. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. I don't know why my audio dipped out like that. All right, let's go back to this. Thank you. Thank you. All right, now we're good to go. All right, so Danny, we were just talking about the XFL. If you want to chime in and say anything about the XFL, I don't know if you heard what I was saying about it, but I refuse to watch it. I think it's going to fizzle out just like the AFL did. If you have any thoughts on it, go ahead. Floor is yours.
I watched like maybe 30 minutes of it today. I'm not really that interested into it. I'll watch tomorrow. I'll watch the Dallas Renegades just because Bob's doing coaching. They've got Landry Jones as backup or as quarterback. So, of course, I'm going to be a homer and try to, support OU players and OU coaches. But I'm really not invested into it. I think it'll be just like it did last time. They'll have good ratings for the first weekend or two, and then after that it'll just fizzle down and it'll flop.
That's kind of where I'm at with it too, and it's a real shame, unfortunately. I got cool. We got somebody coming in and try to add him, and he went away. Hey Dex, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm gonna be sitting in the back trying to help make sure the stream's okay.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. All right.
So, all right. So let's continue. So I'm gonna hop right into the MLB, and I want to get talking about if it's going to get Brian Jones. This man got $350 million of his own bread invested. It'll work this time. I mean, you're gonna tell me that his own money wasn't invested in it last time the XFL was rolling? This is like I said earlier. It's like, same song, different dance, correct? Like we've seen this before with the AFL. We've seen it with the XFL before. It's just kind of just turning the page on a different story that you've already read. I don't know. We're gonna move on though. I want to get to the MLB. This Mookie Betts trade that absolutely fell apart. It's clear that Boston doesn't want to have to pay that luxury tax anymore. It's also very clear that Minnesota isn't giving up a top 10 prospect like Boston is now demanding. It's kind of funny when you think about it because I don't know if them acquiring Mookie Betts, then by them I mean the Dodgers acquiring Mookie Betts, that's actually going to make them any better because their problem wasn't, their bats or their starting rotation because they were getting David Price too. Their problem has always been the middle of the rotation and the back end of the rotation with their pitching staff. They're doing all this stuff to make themselves basically into what the Yankees are, a team that can just bomb the ball. And realistically, they need to start thinking about turning themselves more into the Washington Nationals were when they won last year with with a more solid pitching rotation. And that's the part that's the most frustrating. Honestly, frustrating because I hate the Dodgers, so seeing them fail is always amusing to me. And watching Boston just give away their best player is also amusing to me. But as a fan of the sport, you don't want to see a team get overloaded. That's right there. The Dodgers are right on the cusp, but they're doing things the wrong way. And that's what becomes frustrating when a team, it just continues to prove that the Dodgers may win regular seasons, but they're still, in my opinion, the biggest choke artists in all of baseball. Outside of maybe the Atlanta Braves. That probably two biggest choke artists in baseball when it comes to regular season and playoffs, not being able to progress in the playoffs. But yeah, the Dodgers, it's just going to go to, again, they'll make the playoffs. They'll have one of the better records and I'm saying now if they acquire Betts, they'll be one of the better teams in the MLB. They'll kind of get rolling, but they just won't. I don't think they're going to pass where they were. They won't be able to they won't be able to win the World Series, plain and simply because they just don't have the pitching to keep up with these teams that just have solid bullpen play and a decent 1-2-3. I mean, the Nationals are still going to be there. They're still that solid rotation. It's going to be really tough for the Dodgers to overcome that. Danny, I know you're not a big baseball head, but if you want to chime in on that, you can.
I got
I figured you did. I figured you did it. Patrick, the floor is yours if you got anything you want to add.
I got mine to add on that.
I knew you probably would. Go ahead.
No, I agree. I like what you're saying when it comes to the Dodgers. If the trade does go through, what it does, it lets them start line up and it gives them one of the best, if not the best, leadoff hitter in the game. They're still going to win the division. They'll probably still, make it back to the World Series, but I don't know if they can win it. And the Nationals will be there. But here's the thing: the Nationals are taking a step back 2 years in a row offensively. Last year they went to the World Series and they won it without Bryce Harper, but they're gonna still get back of not having Bryce Harper this year along with Rendon because they still had Rendon last year. I'm concerned about Mad Max's back. Right, if his back holds up, then yeah, they still got a beautiful 1-2-3. But if his back is going to give them any problems at all, it's going to open the door for somebody else to sneak in there. Maybe the Braves can push through or something like that. But yeah, I'm really interested in seeing how this goes because I think from the beginning that the Red Sox will not give me enough back in return for Mookie. That you cannot give me an Alex Verdugo in the top 10 pitching prospect back from the 20s. So that's basically you're saying, right? If you look at that trade, you're saying that you're trading Mookie Betts for the outfielder, and then you're getting the pitcher back for David Price. No way. Boston was getting killed in that deal, and they still might if it goes through, but they need to actually get like 3 or 4 back in 2 of those 3 or 4 need to be either MLB ready or top 10 prospects, in my opinion. You cannot give up a player of that ilk and only get back the guy that's getting back from the Dodgers isn't all that great. You know what I mean? He wasn't even starting for the Dodgers. So, it should have been maybe John Peterson and maybe that pitcher, Gavin Lux or something like that to start with. I don't know what Boston, I understand Boston's trying to get under the competitive tax, but you just can't give away your best player for nothing like that. You know what I mean? And then there's no guarantee that LA is going to resign them, so I understand why they might not want to give that much, but I don't know, man. These deals really shouldn't be that difficult to get done, right? We've seen it. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt went to the St. Louis Cardinals before what Boston is getting back from Mookie Betts, to put it in perspective for you.
This is the part that I just want to piggyback off what you just said there. It seems like, I don't know, it's more of a question actually. It seems like I said earlier, it seems like Boston's so gung-ho on not going over the luxury tax and getting under it. Don't they owe it to their fans to constantly be over the luxury tax and constantly pay it after the 80 years they went without a World Series? Don't they owe it to their fans to constantly try to go over that luxury tax and spend as much money as they can to try to win a World Series, especially when it comes to arguably the best player in the MLB right now and keeping him on your roster?
I mean, there's just a couple years, what is it, 4 years from winning the World Series, right? Something like that.
Yeah, they won. Was it for 2020? Now they won 2017.
Yeah. So the Yankees.
18.
Right. Yeah. So 2 years removed, right? So the Yankees are going to be there, right? They're long to win the division, right? But Tampa Bay is going to be ultra competitive as well too, right? Because of their system is there. So they're going to push them, right? I'm not saying that Tampa Bay is a World Series contender, but they're going to push it, right? I mean, they're right there. They're 80 wins every year, almost 90 wins, right?
Yep.
And yet they can't draw a crowd. Well, yeah, but that doesn't matter about the crowd. The product they put on the field should be drawing crowds. Tampa, not the team, right? Baltimore is in a definite rebuild, right? So yeah, Sean, they do. But here's the thing, right? You can't. I don't know how you justify giving Chris Sale, Baldy, all that money, right? And then saying that you can't pay the best player on your team, probably the second best player in Major League Baseball, right?
Yeah, and it'd be behind Mike Trout, of course.
Yeah, absolutely, right. It's Trout and then him, right? I mean, I guess what everybody will tell you. So if he's asking $400 million, maybe $400 million is a little too much, but he definitely should get more than what the pitcher just got, right? Your guy. Man, I'm sorry, I can't believe I can't remember his name. The guy you just signed in the offseason, he's from Houston.
Oh, Cole, Garrett Cole.
Garrett Cole, right? Right. He definitely should get more. I think an everyday player should absolutely make more than what a pitcher makes. And definitely. I'll go to that with anybody that's on any day of the week, right? They can only assess the game 5 days, every 5 days, right? So, maybe 370, 390 is where he should be, but Boston really should have done a little bit more. Don't tell me, we offered him $300 million. He said no, right? But then yet I'm looking at the Chris Sale contract. I'm looking at the David Price contract. I'm looking at the Nate Eovaldi contract, right? You put all that money, into those three arms, and now you're telling me that you can't bring that back, or you don't even want to sign him. And now I know some of it's on him too, him saying he wanted to touch free agency, but that is his right, to want to do that too.
So, Lou, I'm gonna kick this to you because I let Patrick go. And Lou, thanks for joining the conversation. So, Lou, what is your whole take on this Mookie Betts trade?
Well, I don't know what the rest of y'all think, but I'm just glad that we are on the face, as Yankee fans, on the face in 22 times a year. So I'm just about that.
Lou, that's how I opened it. That's quite literally how I opened when I was talking about it. I was like, as a Yankees fan, I'm so happy I don't have to see Mookie Betts anymore. And Boston just got substantially worse. And that I hate the Dodgers, so they didn't get any better. I think they
my mother's a Dodgers fan.
Listen, I'm sorry for your mother, but I hate the Dodgers. But yeah, I mean, like, it's kind of where I'm at. Like, as just a Yankees fan, I'm just happy I don't have to see him all year, and just kind of made our path to the World Series that much easier, in my opinion. How's it not easier? I mean, it makes us winning the division that much easier, which makes our path to the World Series easier. Boston is not as good without him and David Price. So therefore,
Well, let's think about it. How do you think that David Price is going to stack up with Boston against us? So that's another concern.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. Really, I really am. Betts was their prize sheep, and he's gone. Or let me rephrase that. He's not gone yet. They've hit a lot of hazards, but it came out about an hour ago that that Boston is full steam ahead on trying to get him out of there. I think they're gonna have to find another third team that's not Minnesota. Now, here's the last question I have, and then we're gonna move on to the most popular sport in the world, NBA. But before we do that, we're gonna finish this up, and I want to go round table on this. Danny, I'm gonna leave you out because you've already bowed out of this one. Is there another? Who else could Boston and LA bring in to try to make this deal complete? And I'm gonna start off, Lou. Who do you think their new partner can be? Because they're going to need a third. I think that's pretty clear.
I haven't given much thought about that. Yes.
I don't know who said. Somebody said Philly should jump in and try to get Kenta. Patrick, do you have anything on it? Any idea?
I'll say this to you. I don't know if there is going to be a third team. I think that the Dodgers are really going to face some serious competition to get it out because San Diego was in it. San Diego has the prospect to get him. As long as Boston is willing to take back Will Myers' contract. So I would look out for the Padres.
I actually just read that. That's good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because the Padres were right in it.
Yeah.
The Dodgers just jumped right over him. Absolutely.
And he would help the Padres way more than he would help the Padres way more than he would help the Dodgers.
Absolutely. And I'll say this to you too. This might be a long shot, but I would keep my eyes on the White Sox.
Interesting.
You're right, a long shot.
It seems like the White Sox in the past 2 years have been in on every big free agent or every big trade that was out there. Like, credit to the White Sox, they're not trying to be a bad team. They're legitimately trying to get better, and it just nobody wants to play in Chicago.
Yeah. Hey Lou, you said like it's a long shot, like after certain things. I would have you check the offseason transactions this year for Chicago White Sox is not that far of a long shot. They have really rebuilt their roster. He would slot in real nice there. I just don't know if they'll have the financial flexibility to pay him in the long run. So that's the reason why I'll say it's a long shot. But they absolutely definitely make Sean Jackson. Now they can make them as a third team or even Cleveland because Cleveland has pitching that they're whatever reason trying to get rid of. So they have it. The Phillies would not be the third team. I would think the Phillies would be somewhere like the Padres where they were trying to get on them. But I'm not really sure what he does for Philly at this point.
Well, I mean,
because I know you asked me that the other day if I was upset about them not trading for him, and I was like, no, he's not the player they need. And that's not a knock on him. He's a phenomenal player, but that position is not what they need.
And then I asked you that because as you and everybody else knows, I live in the area of Philadelphia, so I listen to sports talk radio up here all the time, which again came in number 5 in the country for best sports talk in the country. But and again, everybody here in Philly, all the fans after hearing this were livid. They were extremely angry that the Phillies weren't in on Mookie Betts. It seems like, and this is coming from me looking in. I try to stay out of being a homer when it comes to this city as much as I can. But it seems like whenever the city sees a big name get traded, for whatever reason, whatever the name is, the fans automatically go on a whirlwind spiral of, oh, why couldn't we get him? Why couldn't we just do him? Well, it doesn't always work like that. And that's one of the hardest things to explain to people. Like, I had people texting me about when Marcus Morris got traded to the Clippers, and I was like, people here seem to overvalue their players more than I think anywhere in the entire country. And
you say that all the time, and I don't think that, but you gotta look at it right. For people in Philly to be upset, they should be upset on the fact that what Boston got back, and that's what I'm saying. they got back a fourth or fifth outfielder and a top 10 pitching prospect who has medical problems. So when you see that, you absolutely should be upset that your team wasn't trying to get in on it.
Yeah.
From that standpoint.
Yeah. But it also
Right.
could be. This is the standpoint that I'm coming from. Is, and you, like you just said, you said I always say this. It's because not everybody values our players the same way that we value our players. So just because, so you're saying a fourth, you're saying a fourth or fifth outfielder, right? So that would be the equivalent to a Halsey here in Philly, correct? So you're basically telling me that Boston valued the fourth or fifth outfielder for the Dodgers more than they valued Halsey. Which I listen, I like Halsey's a decent outfielder, but I mean, you look at the outfield and the Dodgers, the outfielder for the three outfielders for the Dodgers are pretty dang good. So whoever the fourth outfielder is, I imagine he's better than Halsey.
I would say that he's not better.
Like I said, I don't really know that well. I'll take your word for it, but
I'll put it to you like this, right? He might project to be better, but he could take a starting job from AJ Pollock.
Okay, but AJ Pollock also has history of being a really good player when he's healthy, and he's just been battling health issues his entire career.
But he wasn't healthy last year, and he still couldn't take a starting job. You got Bellinger who plays everywhere, right? So you're not unseating him, right?
Yeah.
So then your other two outfielders are Jock Peterson and AJ Pollock. So he's not better. The guy that they're trading for isn't better than Jock Peterson or AJ Pollock. So that's what I'm saying. And he's coming with he's only 23, 24 years old, and he's coming in with back issues himself. I mean, so like just in terms of value, right? Everybody should be upset that they weren't in on it. Like every team should be like, oh, I can't believe we didn't get in on it when he's only being traded for this.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Just pure value, right? But yeah, like you're absolutely right. Not nobody's gonna value their talent like a hometown fan. Right?
Exactly.
Right? And that's everywhere, right? So I'll give you that. But I'm just saying, like, you know, when you see these things, same thing. Like here's what I'll give you an example, right? Starling Marte trade, right? That's the trade that the Phillies traded on, right? And I told you that like last year, probably the year before that, that's the guy that should have died. He went to Arizona for 2 freaking minor leagues, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea what Pittsburgh's doing, but you know, but everybody can't go off for trade for bets, right?
Yeah.
That's why they're saying it to read everything, and that's why Chris Bryant and Nolan Arenado have a big move, right? Because they're like, oh, if Mookie Betts is only going for this, then we're absolutely holding out
Isn't Chris Bryant also on a 2-year friendly contract still? He's got 2 years left on his contract, and it's real team friendly.
Yeah, I don't know if it's real team friendly, but he does have 2 years left. I mean, yeah, he's not breaking the bank by any means.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's not making what he should be making. So it's like if you want to trade for Chris Bryant, it's going to cost you a whole lot more than it would for a guy that's making a lot of money that a team trying to get under the cap would be trying to unload.
No, absolutely. And here's the thing. Here's where he got screwed. I don't know but we all know they manipulated the service time. I mean, that was apparent when they did it years ago, right? Everybody kind of forgot about it because everybody else started doing it. But this is where he got screwed. Now they can hold on to him until July because they can hold out for the best package. If he had won, you best believe he'd be a Philly or a Brave by now.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, had he had won that arbitration, he only had 1 year left. He'd be in the Phillies or he'd be with Atlanta right now.
Yeah. I mean,
you know what I mean? So for him, it's like, oh, I got to continue to play for an organization that screwed me over, right? Because they did. Let's just be clear, they did.
Oh, without a doubt. But we've had this conversation before. The MLB does this all the time. This is nothing new. It seems like it's getting drawn to the light a little bit more every single year. But the MLB does this every single year, all the time with young players where they manipulated their service time to try to get them on the team for as long as they can before they actually have to really pay them.
Right. You know why it's coming out like now? Because now they're messing with the wrong guys because the guys are doing it too. Kind of bottom line stars.
Like, and then, listen,
when they were, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Before, right? But now these guys are becoming bona fide stars, so now it's getting tight.
And listen, and this is and I'm going to say this. What about Pete Alonso? How long is it going to take for Pete Alonso to make money? Now, say Pete Alonso has another year like he did last year. If I'm him, I'm demanding it right there.
I think the trend there is that he will get his money because you see these other guys starting to get paid earlier. But here's the thing, right? It's funny because from the Mets weren't even going to let him break camp last year. Imagine that. They were going to do the same thing the Mets were going to do to him what the Cubs did. They were going to send him down and this and that. But you know what though? You got to hope for him that he has another year that he did. I don't think he will, but we'll see.
And we shall see. Lou, do you got anything else you want to add to MLB talk before we move on?
I mean, it's hard to say, because you've heard of the sophomore slump, and Alonso had a spectacular year, but is he able to, match that this year?
We shall see.
Still off his second year, so is he going to contribute to the curse, or is he going to be able to keep his momentum up?
We shall see. We shall see. All right. It's NBA time, boys. Hope you're all ready. All right. Buckle up. I want to start off by asking every single one of you. I'm going to start with Danny because he's been quiet the longest on what your favorite NBA trade was.
Favorite NBA trade? I don't know if I really have one because I typically only just care what happens to my team.
Yeah, and your team didn't do anything.
The D'Angelo Russell one was pretty good.
The D'Angelo Russell one, that one was interesting because all they really did was, in actuality, was swap Russell and Wiggins, and then Steve Kerr had the statement of in Minnesota they wanted him to be a superstar. They wanted him to be something he's not here. We just want him to be a good player on a good team, which I thought was funny because you just signed Russell to that deal in the offseason, and it took you less than 3 months playing with your third best player to figure out he won't fit on your team. That's the part I think D'Angelo Russell was actually a perfect fit for that team, but he was playing with a guy that can't play unless he's got other stars around him. And I'm talking about Draymond Green, if you guys haven't figured that out yet. Green without all-stars around him, let me rephrase that. Green without superstars around him looks like a good defensive player that can't do much else. It's strange what happens when you surround an average player with the greatest talent in the world, and then you take that talent away from him, and you really see what he's made of. Danny, I want to ask you something because me and you secretly root for Houston at the same time for different reasons, for separate reasons. What'd you think about James Harden taking the jump the other day? Because that's how small they've gotten.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's the best to do it. You don't have a big, so
no.
I guess you take the guy who can jump the highest, maybe?
Their tallest guy is 35 years old. Are going to be 35 years old. And he's playing center for them.
Well, I know it's early, but I mean, they did beat the Lakers.
Yeah, I don't think beating the Lake. I'm going to be 100% honest, and you guys can sound off on me in the lobby if you want, but I don't think the Lakers are going to make it out the West. To be honest, I don't think. No, I don't. I think the Lakers, in honesty, if I'm looking at it, I think the Lakers are the third best team in the West. Their record might say they're the best team in the West, but I think they're the third best team in the West. I think the Clippers are better than them, and I also think Utah is better than them. I think Utah is a very slept-on team.
I'll give it Utah.
I don't think enough people. I don't think enough people respect Utah Jazz and how good defensive they are. Even though Utah got lucky last night with that goaltend but I still think Utah is the second best. Yeah, I still think Utah is the second best team.
They got away with murder.
I mean, realistically, there was 10 seconds left in the game when that happened. Anything could have happened. You have no idea. Utah could have went down and scored, for all we know, and Utah could have still won. Should that have been a goaltending? Undoubtedly, but in the long run, you don't know what would have happened, and that's the part that.
That's what didn't count.
But it doesn't matter. Like the part that people don't like to ever talk about is what actually happened afterwards. Like my perfect example is in the New Orleans Saints game when everybody was being and moaning that the Saints got that hit, but the Saints should have never even been in that position. That's the part people don't like to talk about. Just like in this situation, nobody seems to be talking about the 10 seconds left on the clock, and Utah would have had the ball with a timeout left. So they would have brought the ball up to half court, and they would have had 10 seconds to get off a shot with Donovan Mitchell, one of the best natural scorers in the league. So I'm not saying Utah would have won outright, but you put yourself in your own situations and you try to dig yourself out of your own grave. That's the kind of crap you're susceptible to. So I don't really feel bad for Portland at all because they put themselves in that giant hole that Dame dug himself out of. And then that goaltend, which, yes, should have been a goaltend, but again, there was 10 seconds left on the clock. You have no idea what Utah was going to do. Utah still could have won that game. You could have went to overtime and Utah still could have won it. I mean, everybody's only looking at it like, oh, Portland got screwed. Portland should not have won that game. They got screwed on one call. You know how many bad calls there are in a game? Do you watch the NBA currently? There's like 30 or 40 bad calls a quarter in NBA games anymore. One call does not cost a team a game. A series of bad events throughout the game cost them the game. Not scoring enough throughout the entire game and waiting until the fourth quarter to turn it on. Do you ever think that might have cost them the game? Just saying. There's several things that cost teams game. I don't ever blame one call or one play for the game unless the game was back and forth the whole time where teams were fighting and there was like no fouls called or no penalties thrown. I don't ever blame a game on one play, one call, one anything. There's a series of events that causes a team to lose, not one specific point in time, every single time. But
you don't think it cost the game over that?
No, I don't think that cost them the game. I think there was 30 other things that could have cost them the game. Not one call, not one bad call in an NBA game. But got completely off topic. Not really off topic. Still going to NBA, but completely sidebar. Patrick, you're up, buddy. What was your favorite NBA trade?
Mine was the Iguodala trade.
We talked about this.
You knew I was going to say that.
We talked about it, so of course.
Plus, I'm a big Tiki fan. I think you know that. But I just also want you to give me credit because I said to you obviously how good Utah was going to be. You laughed at me and said you didn't think they got that much better, and I told you that the offseason signing was going to make them a strong team this year. And I say that to you because I'm not an NBA guy.
Well, for me, it was the trade they made for oh my God, his name's eluding me now.
Bogdanovich?
No, I like Bogdanovich a lot. It's the one they made in season a couple months ago, and he's playing on the Cavs. He went to Utah. His name's completely lost. I know somebody's watching that can tell me his name. Oh my God, they went 9-0 when he got to his team. George Hill? Not George Hill. It's not George Hill. George Hill's in Milwaukee.
Yeah, George Hill's in Milwaukee.
He used to play for the Lakers. And go. Sorry, keep going. I'm gonna look it up.
But I didn't like what the Heat did because I think that they're seriously overachieving, and I think they just fortified their team really nice with the Iguodala trade. And did they finally get Gallinari? Did that go through?
That did not go through, and it won't go through.
Okay, so that would have even made them that much even stronger. But I like that trade for him. I think that's good. I think he goes to another team where he can just be himself and continue to be the guy that he is. He's gonna give you his best on defense. He's gonna give you this bottom three. He'll give you double digits in a starting role off the bench. So I think that's key. And, the moment won't be too big for him. And I think that's the kind of player they can use going down the stretch run.
Well, the only thing that worries me about Iggy is his age. And we don't know Jordan Clarkson. That's his name.
Right.
Iggy, what bothers me, I don't want to say bothers me. I like the trade for Miami. It got them tougher. It got them solidified. I don't want to say solidified because they were already a really good defensive team. But what they gave up for them was nothing. They gave up Justice Winslow, who wasn't playing anyway. And it made them even better defensively. He's going to come off the bench as their seventh, eighth guy off the bench. He's not going to be expected to score. He's going to be expected to come in and just guard the best player on the opposite team, which he's done his entire career. I'm just curious to know how much he actually has left in the tank, and can he go deep in the playoffs? Because I think Miami and Milwaukee are on a crash course for the Eastern Conference Finals. And it's funny that for them, it only took one player. And for everybody that wants to say basketball is a team sport, which you're right, it is, but one player really makes a difference. And case in point, Jimmy Butler to Miami. I don't know what else I have to show you there, but Miami's viable again because Jimmy Butler picked them over the Sixers this past offseason. But yeah, the only thing that really worries me about Iggy is his age. I'm curious how much he has left in the tank, especially he just took all that time off basically to and I'm curious because I can't. You can say he's in shape because I won't ever say an athlete's out of shape, but there's a difference between being in shape and in game shape. There's a huge difference, and it's gonna be curious to see him getting back into the fold and see if he can actually run and everything.
I think the time off helps, and this is the beautiful thing about the NBA. We all know the regular season doesn't really matter, so he can come
like the NHL.
He can be on. NHL every game matters. He can come in and he can do load management like everybody else does. He can play one night, take the next 3 or 4 nights off, and then play again. And so he has time to get his conditioning up, and he'll work on it in practice. But I think the time off will actually help him when he's at age, and then give him time to fit in and things like that. I think that's the other thing that he's a veteran, so it shouldn't take him long to fit in, right? Scheme wise, the scheme is probably going to be something he's used to and really like because he's defense first anyway. So it's just a matter of finding out where he's going to fit in offensively. He's gonna do whatever he can do to help them win, and that's a good thing for them. So they don't have to worry about like another big ego or personality coming in. Just let him matriculate his way into things, and then like you say, get back up to conditioning, things like that. And they're in a good spot, right? So
yeah,
they're the number 2 seed right now, so they got some time where they can allow him to get that right. I guess the NBA right now they don't have those. Like he could go down to the G League and get a conditioning stint, right? Like he has to get.
I think it's, and it's funny you bring that up, and I think it's funny. I think that all players, just like in baseball, have to do. Like the NBA wants to pride themselves in this G League so much, but they don't even use it for their actual NBA players. Because I think when you have guys that are trying to get back into game shape, what better way than get sit down to a team, not a team, a team that plays in a subpar division where you're just going to dominate for 20 minutes or so, and you can just see where they're at physically, right? Like, doesn't that make sense? At least in my head, it makes sense. So
it makes perfect sense to me, especially when you're just talking about conditioning, right?
Yeah.
The NHL,
you just want them to run.
Don't let the guy down, let him skate for a couple games. They're not really worried about the results. They just want him out there skating and get his stamina.
Yeah, and
I absolutely agree. That should be implemented.
Especially if you have I'm trying to think, a guy that you have on your roster that might not play for a couple games, but you don't want him to lose, his conditioning or something like that. Like there's guys on your team that you have 9, 10, that are 9, 10, 11 guys down the bench that you might not play for 2 or 3 games. Send them down to the G League. Let them run. Get their so this way they come into the game, they're still ready. But I just want to clarify something. Miami's the 4 seed right now. Toronto's 2, Milwaukee's 1, Toronto's 2, Boston's 3, Miami's 4, Philly 5, Indy 6.
Oh, Philly's up to 5 now?
Philly's up to 5 because they won last night, and they've played one more game than Indiana.
Okay.
So
I have a question for you and Danny. So is there a time limit for players to report to the teams after trades are made? Because I'm having a hard time understanding why Burke and Robinson are not on the Sixers yet. Now, I know I asked you this privately last night, but that's boggling my mind. And I say that to you because you always get on us about hockey players not being able to come to the country with their visa. So I want to know.
It was one time. That was one time.
Does the NBA report it once? But does the NBA have a time limit, or and I'm being serious. They're asking, is there a time limit to report to teams? Because I know typically you have like 48 hours or something like that. Unless you get an extension, they can mostly report to your team. But Sixers have played 2 games now since the trade has went down. I figured they wouldn't be able to make the first one, but why were they not in the stadium last night? I don't even think they reported to the team, have they?
Okay, well, first they had to have reported to the team, or you would have heard about it by now. But this is just thoughts. So the day they got traded was at 1:00 in the morning. They were in Brooklyn, right? When they heard about it, they were in Brooklyn. They live in California. Fly across country. They have their own stuff they have to get, right? They have their own personal belongings they got to gather. They got to find a place in Philly, find an apartment to move all their stuff into, right? And the Sixers played in Milwaukee that same day because it's 1:00 in the morning.
Yep.
Then the Sixers didn't have a day off. They flew back from Milwaukee, played last night.
Right.
Now, again, just going timelines here. 1:00 in the morning, you're in Brooklyn. About, let's just say, 4:00, 3 hours cross country, right? That's about right. 3-4 hours to fly from Brooklyn to California. I could be wrong. It could be completely wrong. It might be 5 hours.
Yeah, it's longer than that, but go ahead, though.
Okay, whatever it may be. That's just they get home. They have to go to sleep still, right? Because they've been up. They slept shitty on the plane. We all know what it's like to sleep on a plane. It's not good. You never get good sleep on a plane. So you finally get to sleep for a little bit. Now you have to get all your stuff together when you wake up because you've been traded to Philly. Now you're getting all your stuff together. It's midday at this point. Now you're flying to Philly. Probably later on the night now. They're still Philly's now in Milwaukee. They're still playing. They're flying in. So you're probably getting into Philly around the same time that the Sixers are either end of the second quarter to mid third quarter of their game. You haven't even met your coach yet. You haven't even met the players that you're playing with yet. There's a lot of things that go into this, and I can't get mad at them not being here for the last 2 games. And me secretly, I kind of want this whole season to collapse on itself, just so Brett Brown's never the coach for the Sixers again. But if they don't play tomorrow night, I'll be worried. All right, that's where I'm at. If they don't play tomorrow night, then I'll say something. But go ahead.
So let me ask you this, though, right? Have you heard that they've joined the team? Because I have not even heard that they've joined the team yet.
I have not, but I also feel like if if they didn't, you would have definitely heard about it.
Because I hear everything that you're saying. When I'm gonna go back to this, this is they're professionals. This is a business. They got people that can get their stuff into them. So there's no reason, especially now, it's even worse. If they were in Brooklyn, there's no reason why they weren't posting up in Philly and ready to play last night. There's no reason that they had to fly to LA from back to
I don't know, man.
No, I know. I'm telling you, if you're in, this is your job, right? I get it. This is your job, and I understand there's a personal aspect of it, right? And I understand that they could play the game in Milwaukee, but if you're in Brooklyn, you got notified at 1:00 in the morning, and you probably did before that, right?
Well, they got pulled from the game. They got pulled from the game, and we're told they got traded.
Exactly. So at that point, they could have shuffled the field. They could have made some arrangements to get some of their personal items or things that they might have needed. Because let me ask you this: Golden State played in Brooklyn that night? Where did Golden State go to after that? Did they go home and play, or did they go somewhere else to play?
I am not 100% sure. I can look real quick, but I am not 100% sure.
But no worries. But my point being, they already had with them what they needed to be on the road. So there's no reason why they couldn't have played last night or at least been in the building, and then they could have flown out last night to get their stuff and come back tomorrow, today, and play tomorrow, right? You know, and if the team wants to give them a couple days to get their affairs together, so be it. And that's just what I'm asking. I just want to know, Danny, I don't know if you're aware, but is there a time limit or a time frame where players have to report to a team once the trade goes down? So I think that
I looked it up, and it seems like there was a change with the All-Star game. Like, prior to some certain time or some year, the NBA trade was actually after the All-Star game. And then they moved it back before the All-Star game. And then it started causing a lot of logistical problems. So I think, if I'm reading this right, if I've got this right, that the players that are traded before the NBA's All-Star break, they have that time to get their affairs in order, and then I think they have to report to the team after the NBA All-Star game.
Okay. All right.
So you're telling me... Listen, I think for sure they'll both be on the bench tomorrow night. I actually think as the season progresses and after the All-Star break, you will see one of them as the starter and Al Horford move to the bench for the Sixers. But that's just that's my bold prediction. I think you'll see Alec Burke. I think you'll see Alec Burke in the starting lineup, and they'll move Toby to the 4, and Alec Burke to the 3, and Richardson to the 2, and Ben Simmons at the 1. And Horford will come off the bench with Glenn Robinson the 3rd and Furkan Korkmaz, and they'll kind of run the 3rd unit with Shake Milton.
That's what I've been reading, but the other way I've been reading that Robinson will be the starter and Horford. But I just don't understand why you signed Horford to that contract and then put him on the bench. But that's another topic for another.
I mean, we could totally talk about that next week. With the All-Star game, it'll be on next week as well. But Lou, you're the only one we haven't talked to yet. So, what was your favorite trade?
Well, I don't know if I have a favorite trade, but I feel like the move that makes about $1,000.
All right, so we talked about that in depth already. Excellent.
What about the Capella trade to Atlanta?
The Capella trade to Atlanta was interesting because it gives Capella. I'm going to say this: it gives Capella their own mini big 3. And that's not a hype joke at Trae Young. I swear to God, it's just kind of just how it worked. It's like their own little kind of big 3 they got going on there. Atlanta's moving in the right direction. I've said before, I really like Atlanta's youth more than anything. I don't think Atlanta gets enough credit, and I think Atlanta is on the rise more than they are on the fall. They've been struggling with injuries a lot this year. I really like that kid Herter a lot. He's very good. He's gonna be a very good shooter. And there's no other good player on that team, so just Herter and now Clint Capella. Just those 2.
So let's talk to me about this from the Houston perspective. Why does Houston trade Clint Capella?
Why did Houston trade Clint Capella?
Yeah.
Because Clint Capella, I cannot come up with a reason. The only thing I can think of is they thought they were clogging the lane for Russell and Harden, and both of them are at their best when they're driving to the basket with the ball in their hand.
So then basically Houston's really saying that they can't win the championship.
I think Houston thinks that they can win it going small and just doing exactly what Golden State did, but they're leaving out a key component that Golden State had a big man that they played for 10 to 15 minutes a game.
Always had a big man. Houston is not as talented.
Listen, I'm not arguing with you on that point. I agree with you 1,000%. But the other thing Houston's not realizing is, like we just said, Golden State always had a big man. They might not have played him a lot, but they played their big man for about 10 or 15 minutes a game, and it was at the start of the game and somewhere in the middle when they needed help on the boards. And they also had KD, who was 7 foot tall, who basically can get rebounds for you when needed. So Houston, I think, thinks I think we both agree on this. We talked about it before that D'Antoni's the problem there, and because they need a coach they basically need a coach that's gonna lead that team and not just kind of let Harden and Westbrook do what they want. Because they need a natural leader on that team. And Harden, as much as I love him, he is not a leader because he can't stop himself from taking bad shots.
That's what I mean. And we've seen this before. Like this let's go small ball isn't something new. Don Nelson was the king of this, right? Run TMC, right? So we've seen this before, and we know that he's not going to win a championship.
Well,
I just don't understand why you do that. Like, if you're going to trade Capella, trading for a big that can shoot outside that. Like,
I agree.
Get a guy, I don't know, man. I mean, hey, listen, I'm not a Houston fan, but you're talking about other people being upset like we're talking about baseball. Man, I'd be furious if I was a Houston Rockets fan right now.
I agree with you, and it's funny, like you said, we've seen this before. We've seen Mike D'Antoni do this before in Phoenix for years. He failed in Phoenix doing the same thing with Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire for how long?
How long is correct? I mean, I just thought maybe you guys did something that I didn't know about it. So
No.
I really wanted to ask that. Like, I'm not trying to be a smart aleck about it, but I was just curious because I even asked you the other day, I was like, wait, did they trade Capella? You know what I mean? You're like, yeah. I said, oh my god.
You know, it's funny. We've talked about a lot of trades, but there's two we haven't touched, and one of them I think was the best trade of the entire draft. And I was hoping one of you three would say it, but you didn't. The fact that the Clippers got Marcus Morris for a bag of balls and a cigarette is a joke to any team that's a contender and needs toughness. That's all I'm going to say. You did.
But here's the thing, though, right? And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't the Clippers kind of made up of a team that has a bunch of specialists right now, right? Like Patty Bev, he's going to lock you down. Lou Williams is going to come off the bench and score, right? So what does Morris give to the Clippers that they already don't have?
Toughness.
Like, does he tip the scale for them in any kind of way?
Yes.
Is he going to get any run?
Yes. He's going to start for them. I guarantee you. He will start. Yes, he will. I will. Listen, Patrick. You're hearing that. Hear me now. I don't know what you want to make. We can bet whatever you want on this. Any fun bet we want to make up, we'll make up something for it. I guarantee you, he will start for them. He will undoubtedly be a starter for them by year end going into the playoffs. He is a very good defender. He brings toughness, and he can shoot from basically anywhere on the floor. He's the second. He's got this. If I'm not, I know I'm right about this, but listen, I know I'm right about this. But people on Facebook right now or YouTube that are watching me can fact check me here. But he's got the second best 3-point percentage this year. He will undoubtedly, and he's going to bring a form of toughness to this team that the Lakers don't have.
He came from the Celtics last year, right? That's where he came from.
He was on the Celtics last year. Yeah, he was on the Celtics last year.
But he didn't start for them, right?
Yes, he did.
All year?
He was their 4. People forget this. Horford was their 5.
Yeah, I know Horford was the 5. I thought that he was one of the guys.
Morris was their 4.
When Hayward came back.
No, Morris was their 4. Hayward came off the bench. Hayward stayed on the bench. I always made fun of Boston last year that they had the highest paid bench player of all time. So yeah, Morris.
He really didn't make much of a difference in Boston, so I don't see him making much of a difference on a better LA team. That's just me. But we'll see how it plays out.
Listen, we'll see. I'm very confident.
His brother got traded too, right?
Who?
Did his brother get traded too?
No, his brother is still on OKC.
No, his brother was on Detroit.
Is he on Detroit?
I thought Marquise was on Detroit.
Did I muff that?
Marquise, he left OKC. I think he's on Detroit.
I know he didn't get traded. He stayed wherever he is. He stayed, but yeah, he's on Detroit.
Okay.
I muffed that one. Fact check me. But the other one that I find really, because I'm happy, the good segue there, go to Detroit. the amount of crying that Andre Drummond is doing because he got traded.
It's warranted.
Is it? This happens every year. Listen, I understand. Listen, I understand that he gave everything to that city and he loves that city. I get that, but this happens all the time. It's nothing new.
It's still warranted. Yeah. No, he does, but it's still warranted. I mean, it's not like. But listen, he showed up and he played, right? The only players that haven't shown up to the team are the guys that the Sixers got.
Well, you're right, but I don't think any other team also played back-to-back nights, and where they were flying home.
Sure they did.
Name me one.
Memphis played back to back.
Memphis didn't gain anybody. Memphis didn't play back-to-back.
Sure they did. They got somebody. They didn't get they got somebody for Iggy.
Yeah, they traded. They got a second-round pick. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna hop into buyouts now, and I'm gonna talk about where these players might be going. Marvin Williams actually already is kind of signed somewhere.
With the Bucks.
That hush hush. You're not gonna see any other teams. You're just gonna go with the Bucks. But there's 2-3 that I'm interested in seeing where they go. Reggie Jackson, who they're working out a buyout in Detroit with him right now. Isaiah Thomas, who's going to get bought out from the Clippers, and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. I'm interested in those 3 for different reasons.
Okay. What are your reasons?
Isaiah Thomas, I'm interested in because, man, has anybody fallen from grace harder than he has? And it's I kind of feel sorry for the guy that he can't find a home. Like, there's got to be a team out there that needs a backup point guard that can shoot the 3. Has to be a team somewhere. If I can only find them.
Right there in your hometown?
Oh, listen, I figured you knew what I was doing there. Besides the point.
Yes, sir.
I figured, and here's another thing. Reggie Jackson. Talk about another guy that's fallen from grace. Danny, you might remember Reggie Jackson because he played for you guys. He was a backup to Westbrook, who exceeded expectations. Started complaining because he wanted more money. OKC said, no, we're not going to pay you. He moves on to Detroit, gets his payday. Hasn't really lived up to expectations, but it's another backup point guard that can shoot the 3. Look good coming off of somebody's bench. That's hearsay. He'll probably go to Indiana. And then the last one, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. That's like a small forward that can come off your bench. He can shoot the 3 pretty well. He'll probably go to Toronto. That's my guess. What are you got? So Patrick, I'm gonna start with you. Where do you think these guys are gonna go?
I think IT might be headed for a reunion in Boston.
Ugh.
I mean, yeah, really, right? Reggie Jackson, he's a sharpshooter. I think the other 2 guys will end up out in the West. Reggie Jackson could be someone the Lakers pick up. Michael Gilchrist could be someone that maybe Utah looks to pick up, or maybe even Houston as they continue to collect shooters.
I don't see him go to Houston. I don't think he wants to go back to where Russell Westbrook is.
I mean, just an educated guess from me, which is really educated, right?
Yeah. It's what the worst part about the Michael Kidd-Gilchrist thing is for me, personally? He's from Philly.
Yeah.
He won't even get looked at here. I've never been more ready. I love it. And you 3 know, especially Danny and Patrick, how much I love the NBA. I've never been more ready for this season just to be over.
If they collapse, it doesn't matter. They're not going to get rid of them. If they haven't gotten rid of them at this point, because it's already collapsed. I mean, it was a failure last year in the playoffs with the way they crumbled, and it was due to coaching and not being able to motivate this talent on the team. And you take away a player that didn't want to come back because of you as the coach, they're not going to get rid of him. They're just not. And there's nothing. They don't owe him anything. Yes, he went through the process, so yeah, you rewarded him with the contract extension, and he got you to the playoffs. But they don't owe him anything else for going through that. They're doing them. These decisions or indecisions are what set teams back for years. And if they don't take care of this now, it doesn't matter going forward because they won't go anywhere going forward. We'll be talking about him like we do D'Antoni. As long as he's the coach, they're not going to win anything. It's ridiculous that you cannot get your two superstar players to communicate and play team ball together. And what's becoming even more apparent is that it's Ben Simmons' team. The team plays better when Embiid's out.
Isn't that weird? And you know, it's funny because this is going to segue into our last topic of the night. Probably is can Ben Simmons and Embiid coexist together on the court? And it's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird you bring up how they play better when Ben Simmons is out there and not Embiid. And one of the reasons they play better when Ben Simmons is out there and not Embiid is because Embiid isn't standing in the middle of the lane and Ben Simmons can go forward a whole full head of steam and Horford can collapse on the opposite side that he's going to and possibly get the offensive rebound and get a nice little putback up, or it goes in, whatnot, so on and so forth. But it's funny you say that they're better because if you look at the two players individually, Embiid's a far better player. He's a far more talented player. And
I wouldn't say he's far better. I wouldn't say he's far better. I wouldn't say that at all.
I think he's far more talented. I don't want to say far more talented because Ben Simmons is extremely talented, but at this stage of their careers, Embiid is clearly the better player than Simmons.
Clearly the better player?
I think he's clearly the better player than Simmons.
I would disagree.
I think
I respectfully disagree with you.
Listen, it wouldn't be a good show if we didn't debate about something every now and again.
That's true.
Listen, I may be wrong in 2-3 years, but the number one, we all know the number one thing that's holding Ben Simmons back from going from an all-star to a superstar. I won't call Ben a superstar because there's one thing holding him back from being a superstar.
He's definitely not a superstar.
He's an all-star. He's an all-star.
No, stop it. He is definitely a superstar. Stop it. Stop it right now.
Hold on. Let me finish my point. We'll go back and forth. I don't mind. Let me go finish going my point. We all know what's holding him back. We all know why. Until he starts to airball 3-pointers like Giannis does. Even though I texted you during that game and said this is why I don't mind Ben not shooting, because I don't want him to airball like Giannis does. He's got a better form than Giannis does when he's shooting the ball. So until he starts, I don't even care if he shoots 3. Until he starts shooting the ball consistently in general, it'll constantly hold him back from being a great player. Not a great player, a superstar. He's a good player in the NBA, a very good player in the NBA. He's an all-star player in the NBA, but he's very good on defense. He's going to be probably first-team all-defense this year. He's very good floor general. He sees the court perfectly. He's great on the fast break, but when he plays better teams, and this is his MO, when Simmons plays the better teams in the league, Simmons goes quiet. The fact that he shot the ball, he took 6 shots against Milwaukee. 6 shots is why he won't be good. Why he is not a superstar. I will also say that in the past 3-4 weeks now, he has become a very good free throw shooter. I don't know. He's clearly worked on that part of his game, and I give him all the credit in the world for that because they can no longer just hack an Aussie because he hits the free throws now. He makes it very hard to play that game because he's finally hitting those free throws. And that's the number one thing we said. If he's going to go full steam with his head down, he needs to be confident he's making those free throws. And now he's confident and they're falling. He needs to gain confidence now to start shooting the ball from that free throw line, like imaginary circle free throw line all the way around the court, and start shooting from there. Then gain confidence and take another step back. It's just a progression. I'm hoping that him getting confidence and shooting the free throw will give him more confidence next year to start shooting the ball more around the court. But until he becomes the guy that when he sees the open shot, he takes the open shot, I cannot call him a superstar. The floor is yours, Patrick.
So when Embiid missed 8 straight games, they didn't play any top teams when them was dominating. I think what everybody needs to realize is that if you're gonna say that he's not a superstar because he won't take a jump shot, then I want to dissect every superstar that is in the league and talk about what they don't do. Because you'll call James Harden a superstar. He can't play defense. So why is he a superstar? Because he can score with the best of them. So we'll say Russell Westbrook is a superstar, but he can't shoot. He takes shots, but he can't shoot. He's the worst three-point percentage shooter this year in the NBA. That's a fact. But we still call him a superstar. Right? Rudy Gobert. We'll call Rudy Gobert. People will call him a superstar. He's for his defense, right? Luka, you're calling him a superstar, saying he's the best thing since sliced bread. He can't play D. LeBron James, who you always say can't play D, you still call him a superstar, right? So this kid, number 25, is a bona fide superstar. He is elite because he has an all-around game. Name one player in the NBA that has a better all-around game than 25.
Do you want me to do it right now? I already got the player in my head. Do we do it?
Yeah, no.
Kawhi Leonard.
No. Kawhi Leonard, stop. Yeah. Kawhi Leonard is not even defending the best player on the opposite team anymore. Kawhi Leonard's not even playing 82 games. So that's okay.
Anthony Davis.
So, crying out loud. I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Listen, you asked the question. I'm answering the question with players, and you don't like my answers.
No. It's not that I don't like your answer. You know damn well why I'm gonna punch you in the face. So don't even start with me. Don't even start with me. Because when Kawhi Leonard was not playing, I said to you who the best two-way player in the game was Anthony Davis. You kept telling me it was Kawhi Leonard.
Because it is.
But he didn't even play. He wasn't even. Don't. I'm not going back to with you. I did that with you for a whole year. Stop it. That's you know why I said that. So what I'm saying is this right now. Ben Simmons has, and Danny, I said this a couple weeks ago. If you get back this up, Ben Simmons has extended his offense, right? He has gained a serious low post game. And I said a couple weeks on the show that there were one or two things that he needed to do. He wasn't going to take the 3-point shot and jump shots, and he needed to become dominant. And when Embiid was out, he was post up. He was playing the 5. He was playing the 5 position in 8 games for stretches. He was dominating on those lines. He has developed almost immediate to mid-range game with his floater and his little turnaround jump shot and his hook shot. So when we're going to talk about his involvement, we need to talk about it all. Let's not keep saying he's not shooting the jumper, he's not shooting the 3. There's a hell of a lot of superstars in the league that don't shoot the 3, right? Now, I get that he won't even attempt it, and I know that bogs them down, and he has some room to grow there, but he is a superstar.
Okay, but the overall debate though was you said that you think he's better than Embiid right now, correct?
No, I didn't say that. You said that Embiid is clearly and far away better, and I would disagree with that.
And I also want to point out that I did give him credit in advancing his game by saying that he's hitting his free throws now.
You did say that.
I'm giving him. Listen.
That's why I left that part out.
I tried, like I said, I try to be as fair as I can when it comes to this, and I'm happy you did recognize though that without him shooting, it bogs this offense down.
Sure.
And that's why even Embiid said the other a couple nights ago before they lost, when they went on that 4-game road losing streak. I can't remember what team it was against, where he said that he has to hang out more along the 3-point line because he was told he clogs up the paint. Who? I want you clogging up the paint. You're the guy I want in the paint.
So clearly better skill set, sure. But that does not make him far and away clearly the better player. Because here's one thing that I know Ben Simmons does night in and night out that Embiid doesn't.
Tries.
Simmons plays his heart out night in and night out. Give it effort every night.
Yeah, listen, and I would say this, as of right now, Embiid's got that hand wrapped, and I don't know what kind of discomfort he's going through, but he's trying to play through it.
Don't care.
Man.
We say this all the time to one another. No, we say this to one another all the time. If you're injured, don't play. If you're injured and you're playing, don't fight the injury.
You're right. No, you're right, but you're right, but shouldn't he But shouldn't Ben Simmons be wanting to do more because he sees that his star player, his teammate and star player, was going out there and playing hurt? Shouldn't that make Ben Simmons want to play harder?
How can you play harder than what Ben Simmons?
6 shots. He took 6 shots.
Who cares?
I.
We know that's not his thing. Okay, so let me ask you this. Let me do it. So if you're saying that Embiid may be struggling with efficiency, why is he still chucking up shots? Why is he still not? What does his hand have to do with him giving effort on rebounds and defense?
Well, because
It's supposed to be about that.
I mean, that's if you're throwing your arms up against other guys to get rebounds, that hand gets hit nonstop. It's going to hurt, especially if it's still bandaged up in a cast.
So check out.
Just saying.
Check out that. Let the other guy come in and play. Right? Don't give me this that Ben Simmons should want to do more because his star player, his teammate, they just play injured, right? Because that guy is not doing anything to help. He's being double, triple team. He's still not kicking a pass out. He's throwing the ball away. He's taking ill-advised shots. His hand can't be hurt that much if he's still chucking up shots. And
So,
you've got other superstar players on that team that are not playing hard. Tobias Harris disappears again. He's a mass player. Mass player. He's not taking shots. He's not dominating. Horford, like you told me the other day, was shooting like 4 out of 10 threes, but he missed like 3 in a row. Stop it with this nonsense. Like, all this pressure should not fall to one player when you have other all-stars on the team.
oh, listen.
This isn't Trae Young in Atlanta where he has to carry the team.
Listen, you're right, but I also don't just blame Ben Simmons.
Okay, sure. Now we're talking.
You know as a for a fact that I don't just blame Ben Simmons for this team.
I know you don't. I do know.
You know that as a fact that I say all the time. There's 180 million reasons why Toby should be playing better. And there's also 1,000 times I've told you I want this team to continue to lose, and maybe Brown will grow some balls and fire Brett Brown.
You have told me that several times.
Listen, because I'm with you. I'm with you on the fact that this team won't win with Brett Brown as their coach. And I was also the same guilt. I said this last year, but after seeing how he coached that Toronto series, I was like, you can't not bring the guy back after that. It would be really hard after last year for the team to justify firing the guy last year after the Toronto series, where it took 4 bounces to eliminate the Sixers. And that's the part where it had me torn.
I want to know where Danny falls in on this. Embiid is clearly better than God, I don't like either one of them that much. I know you don't, but Joe.
But I think Danny's a little biased though when it comes to hating Embiid, because Embiid tortured Westbrook for all those years.
I would say though, just from you're coming outside of what I would say Simmons is better just because he's not an injury prone. Like I think that's gotta be it. I think that's gotta be correct. Like if you're gonna go long term,
You're right.
you want a player that can be, that you can depend on that's not gonna get hurt every other game or, something along those lines. It does bug me that Simmons doesn't shoot. Whereas Embiid doesn't care. He'll take a shot. I like that. It's that Westbrook attitude. Why not do what you need to do? Embiid seems like he's a little lazy sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have to go with Simmons on this one.
Now, the ultimate question is, and this is the question that I posed in the beginning. I just want a yes or no from Patrick, because we've gone back and forth with this. Can they coexist?
No.
Danny, can they coexist?
No, I'm not a good coach. I like that answer.
Hey, I agree with them. Lou, can they coexist?
No way.
You know, no, screw y'all, all right? I think they can coexist.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. They can coexist.
Why? They haven't shown you that they can. Here's the thing, Sean.
You got hold on. How you gonna ask me? How you gonna say a statement, not let me respond? Listen, you're right. You're right. Go ahead. You're right. That's a great question. It's a very good question. I think they're both coachable with the right coach. And I don't, and this goes back to my original point that I don't think Brett Brown's the right coach. But I can't.
But it's going to allow you to address what you wanted to address.
All right.
Do you think maybe some of the reason why they might be having a coexistence issue is because of Brett Brown?
Yes, 100%. Yes, because Brett Brown babies the shit out of them, and it's so frustrating. But at the same time, all right, it's because, all right, I'm gonna break this down real quick. They need a coach that was an ex-player. All right, plain and simple. They need a coach that was an ex-player that's been there, that is credible. Okay, they cannot have a guy that was assistant to Greg Popovich that never really did anything for him other than develop talent. Okay, guess what? The talent's developed. It's time to move on past the talent developer and the championship win, and time to get to the championship winner. I think I might have said this to you, or I might have said to somebody I work with. Brett Brown is the Sixers' Mark Jackson. They need to find their Steve Kerr. It's as simple as that. And until the Sixers find their Steve Kerr, they'll be stuck in this roadblock. They are no better, and I said this before too, and people called me crazy. The fact that they are a 6th seed in the playoffs right now, or they'll be a 6th seed once Indiana wins their next game. The fact that they're a 6th seed in the playoffs right now, and they're going to get probably bounced in the first round because they can't win away from home, makes them no better than what they were before the process. Plain and simple. You can't get much easier than that, because before the process we're going into the playoffs, we're losing the first round. We're going into the playoffs, we're losing the first round. What's different? Just because we have 2 guys that are all-star and superstar does not make it any different. That's the only, but it doesn't matter if you're still losing in the first round. If you're still losing in the first round, what have you accomplished? Nothing. And that's irritating. Listen, I think the mistake was simply letting Monty Williams go. I think the mistake was not letting Monty Williams just be your head coach. That's a whole different topic. But I want to get back to this coexisting thing. I think they can definitely coexist. You don't win 50 games 3 years in a row because you can't coexist. You don't win 50 games 3 years in a row, and you win. You win 50 games 3 years in a row because you're a talented duo that can play together. Hold on, who's that? Hello from Washington Zone. Who's that? 301-0273. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, who is this?
Hi, my name is Palos.
What do you want to talk about, bud?
I just want to call you and I want to let you know I'm watching your show. I'm a big fan and everything. And I just wanted to know, I'm not too much into sports, but I just watch your show because I love you.
Well, we appreciate the love, man.
Yeah, no problem. You're just a great guy, overall great guy. Remind me of my favorite #1 leader, Hitler. I love it.
You know what's the fun part about this? The cool part about this is that this new system we got is that we can just straight up mute people and just leave them on mute. And the old one, it was they could just keep coming back in. Now they can't do that anymore.
Make sure we get that timestamp so we can get that list to Madonna on the transcript. That's one.
Yeah, I got it.
You always might get one schmuck on there.
Oh, there's always this one, and that's part of the problem. But hey,
What happens when Sean's leaving the show?
it's without fail when Sean's leaving the show. I'll tell you that. Let me do this real quick.
He loves you.
Well, he says fearless. I mean, he's got a fearless leader too. Anyway, I mean, real rap. We were gonna end the show after that anyway, but I don't want to end it on that note. So we're gonna go with final thoughts here. Danny Spalding, anything you want to end on?
No, but I enjoy you guys just clapping all over the series. It just makes my day.
Hey, it could be worse. We could be in Oklahoma.
Hey, we're sitting at 60 right now in the West.
What's that mean?
Don't get it started. Why you giving? Come on, here we go.
What does that mean? I'm really confused on what that means.
We're sitting at the same spot you are with West House.
No, you're not. We're in the 5th seed.
Okay, we're one game out of 6.
Okay, and we're one game out of the 4th seed. Want to keep going? I can play this game all night.
Yeah, no, you have way more time and we're over.
I mean, I'll give you. We probably are underachieving. Yeah, but I've already said that I think that OKC's got a great leader on their team. The Sixers don't.
Well, I give you that, I guess.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't want to get in this conversation right now. I'm just going to get irritated. But I think that
We'll trade you Chris Paul.
I'll tell you this. I think the West is probably equally as bad as the East. It's not as cut and dry as it once was.
I'll give you that. I think the West, going into the season, there was just a lot of, the big trades. I think people went into it saying the West was just going to be a juggernaut of the conference. But I think once things played out, they're really not that. They're not as, tough as I think people want to go into. I think the two conferences kind of evened out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
I'm really not impressed with what the Clippers. I thought the Clippers would be a whole lot better than they are. I didn't think the Lakers would be where they're at, but there's still quite a bit of basketball left.
there is. I'm just looking at the East versus the West, what the records are in the West versus the East. And it looks like the West kills the East. Hurts to say that a little bit, but I'm also a man of honesty. I try to tell the truth with it all the time. Like the West, it looks like the West owns the East when they play head to head. At least like the bottom of the barrel teams. But
Yeah, I was gonna say, but you gotta kind of dive into that. And see what you
yeah, I would want to see the top 4
LA
teams
playing.
playing. I would want to see the top 8 teams from each conference and what their records are against each other. That's what I'd be most curious about.
Yeah, that takes a while to go through.
Yeah. All right. Well, Patrick, any final thoughts?
Yeah, man, I don't know what you guys got planned for the rest of the evening, but if you have showtime, man, turn it on, man. I got 2. So Because I said, no, this first one is ridiculous. Man. These little fellas are throwing haymakers in the first round.
You know,
Secondly, I think that we're set up for a really good sports year all the way around. Super Bowl was awesome. I think the NBA finals, when we get there in the playoffs, are going to be awesome. NHL playoffs are always awesome. And I think baseball's going to have a good year this year as well. I think we're in for a good sports year.
yeah, I think I agree. I hope this is my sports wish. I hope that in all 4 sports we see teams that don't usually win. You know, I don't want to see the normals.
And March Madness is going to be on the hook.
It always is. That goes without saying. And oh wait, hold on. How could I forget?
Yes, get it.
How could I forget?
I'm telling you, I'm trying to lead you, man. I'm trying to lead right
17 points down with 4 minutes to go. Duke Nation, stand up, baby. Stand up with me one time. Oh, I completely forgot because I started the show off with that around the sports and didn't put it on there. God, I wanted to talk some trash. That is.
Here we go. Here we go.
Boomer Sooner. Boomer Sooner.
I was driving back from the game today and I saw that. I'm like, how the hell is this?
All right, boys. All right, boys. It's time to get up on out of here. It's been a pleasure riding with you guys tonight, as it always is.
Great show.
You guys have a safe night, and I'll catch you guys next week.
All right, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Later.
Talk to you later, Dan.
Take care.
All right, buddy.